Ocean climate solutions. Are policies keeping up with innovation? As we stand on the brink of a climate crisis, the ocean's potential to save us is overshadowed by our outdated policies and ethical blind spots. But here's where it gets controversial. The relentless march of innovation in ocean-based climate solutions has outpaced our ability to manage them responsibly. Researchers are ringing the alarm bell, urging scientists, funders, and policymakers to act in unison to ensure that these novel interventions are deployed with care and foresight. Navigating the risks of marine climate interventions. The transformation of our oceans due to climate change is alarming and demands our immediate attention. As temperatures rise, we witness coral bleaching, increasing sea levels, and the alarming acidification of seawater, which poses significant challenges for shellfish and coral reefs. These changes are occurring right before our eyes, with serious implications for marine ecosystems and the communities that rely on them for their livelihoods. In light of these pressing issues, a variety of stakeholders, including scientists, governments, and industries, are actively seeking ways to intervene. Across the globe, innovative approaches are being tested to capture and store carbon dioxide, as well as to mitigate the damage that has already occurred. Among the ocean-based climate strategies being explored are the breeding of heat-resistant corals, the restoration of mangrove forests, and the cultivation of seaweed. While these interventions hold promise for addressing climate challenges, they also come with inherent risks. Some of these methods may prove ineffective, create inequities, or even cause harm to existing ecosystems. Currently, the rapid pace of innovation in marine climate interventions is outstripping our ability to effectively regulate, monitor, and assess their impacts. This raises concerns that both present and future generations may not receive the benefits they deserve, or worse, that we may be losing the opportunity to prevent irreversible damage to our oceans. In our recent study published in Science, we examined the latest findings regarding the known and perceived risks associated with new ocean-based climate interventions. We also explored emerging strategies to mitigate these risks. Our research revealed that the potential dangers of these interventions are not being adequately considered, and the benefits remain uncertain. However, we identified promising assessment tools and planning frameworks that can help us design ocean-based climate actions that align with our global climate objectives. The landscape of marine climate interventions is diverse, with varying levels of ambition and scope. Examples include increasing ocean alkalinity in North America to enhance carbon dioxide absorption, breeding heat-tolerant corals in Australia for transplantation onto damaged reefs, cultivating seaweed in Africa to sequester carbon and lower ocean acidity, restoring mangroves in Asia to protect coastal communities from climate impacts, prohibiting offshore oil and gas exploration to prevent emissions. While some of these interventions are still in the experimental phase, others have been tested and subsequently abandoned due to various challenges, including the complexities of monitoring and verification. Each intervention carries its own unique set of advantages, costs, and risks. For instance, while increasing ocean alkalinity may facilitate greater carbon absorption, it's challenging to verify the actual amount of carbon removed, complicating the justification of associated costs and potential ecological harm, such as impacts on local fish populations. Restoring coral reefs can enhance biodiversity in the short term, but as global temperatures continue to rise, these modified corals may struggle to adapt, raising questions about the long-term viability of such efforts. Additionally, coral restoration is often resource-intensive and may inadvertently lead to emissions from energy-consuming processes, making large-scale implementation difficult. On the other hand, large-scale seaweed farming could require vast areas of ocean, potentially displacing fishing, shipping, and conservation activities. To capture 1 billion tons of carbon from seaweed would necessitate farming over 1 million square kilometers of the Pacific Ocean, which would only account for about 10% of the annual carbon dioxide removal needed to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees C. There is skepticism about whether seaweed farming can effectively remove carbon from the atmosphere. However, if executed thoughtfully, it can yield a variety of other climate-related benefits. Moreover, many interventions overlap in both space and time, leading to cumulative impacts and unforeseen consequences. Some projects may displace existing users, infringe on Indigenous rights, or diminish public trust in climate science and policy. Without a thorough understanding and careful planning, these initiatives could inadvertently worsen the very issues they aim to address. A significant challenge we face is the lack of appropriate regulation and oversight that matches the scale and complexity of marine climate interventions. Existing regulations are often outdated, fragmented, or tailored for land-based systems, and few countries have established biosafety laws for oceanic activities. As a result, many interventions proceed without comprehensive risk assessments or adequate community engagement. Ethical dilemmas also arise in this context. Who determines what a healthy ocean looks like? Who is held accountable if an intervention leads to negative outcomes? And how can we ensure that the benefits, such as improved livelihoods and climate resilience, are distributed fairly? Currently, the decision-making process is largely dominated by scientists, funding organizations, and non-governmental entities, with limited involvement from governments, local communities, and indigenous peoples. This imbalance risks perpetuating historical injustices and undermining the credibility of many ocean-based climate initiatives. To move toward a more responsible transformation of our marine environments, we identified opportunities for collaboration among scientists, policymakers, and funding organizations to conduct more thorough assessments of interventions. Emerging guidelines and insights from experimental research on capturing and storing blue carbon in ocean and coastal ecosystems are beginning to take shape. Additionally, a non-profit organization in the United States has developed a code of conduct for marine carbon dioxide removal. Although these guidelines have yet to be integrated into broader governance frameworks, there is a growing awareness of the urgent need to ensure that interventions are conducted responsibly. Many high-level policy documents now emphasize the importance of transitioning to more sustainable, equitable, and adaptive practices. For instance, the Samoa Climate Change Policy 2020 highlights the necessity of adapting coastal economies and communities to the realities of warming oceans, while also striving to reduce carbon emissions. As we navigate this complex landscape, it is crucial to proceed with caution. The ocean plays a vital role in our climate future, absorbing heat, storing carbon, and supporting life. However, it is also vulnerable and increasingly becoming a testing ground for various interventions. To harness the potential of ocean-based climate actions, we must approach these efforts with care, humility, and foresight. Responsible governance should not be viewed as an obstacle to innovation. Rather, it is the very foundation upon which successful initiatives can be built. By embedding ethical, inclusive, and evidence-based principles into our marine climate strategies, we can pave the way for a more resilient and equitable future for our oceans. Strengthening governance for ocean climate interventions. The urgent need for effective governance in climate interventions is more critical than ever as our planet grapples with the escalating impacts of climate change. The oceans, which are vital to both marine life and human communities, are undergoing significant changes, that pose serious threats to their health and sustainability. A recent study published in the journal Science sheds light on the increasing number of innovative climate strategies aimed at addressing pressing oceanic issues, such as coral bleaching, rising sea levels, and alarming biodiversity loss. However, this surge in scientific innovation brings to the forefront important questions about the governance structures required to ensure these interventions do not unintentionally worsen the very challenges they seek to mitigate. Today's oceans are showing clear signs of distress, largely due to the cumulative effects of human-induced climate change. One of the most alarming consequences is the rise in sea surface temperatures, which leads to widespread coral bleaching. This occurs when corals expel the symbiotic algae that provide them with essential nutrients and vibrant colors, resulting in significant coral die-off. The implications of this phenomenon extend beyond the loss of beautiful reefs. It disrupts critical marine biodiversity hotspots and jeopardizes the fisheries and coastal protections that billions of people rely on for their livelihoods. Additionally, rising sea levels caused by melting polar ice caps and the thermal expansion of seawater exacerbate these issues, leading to increased coastal erosion and heightened vulnerability for low-lying communities around the globe. In response to these pressing challenges, among these innovative strategies are ocean alkalinity enhancement techniques, which seek to combat acidification by artificially boosting the seawater's ability to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This chemical process helps to neutralize ocean acidity, creating a more hospitable environment for calcifying organisms like corals and shellfish. At the same time, researchers are working on genetic and selective breeding programs to cultivate coral strains that can withstand higher temperatures. These climate-resilient corals have the potential to thrive in warmer waters, thereby aiding in the restoration of damaged reefs and preserving their essential ecological roles. Moreover, biological carbon sequestration methods, such as large-scale seaweed farming, are gaining traction. Seaweed, through the process of photosynthesis, absorbs carbon dioxide, making its cultivation a scalable solution for capturing atmospheric carbon. When harvested and processed appropriately, seaweed biomass can be utilized for long-term carbon storage, either by sinking it in the deep ocean or converting it into biochar. Additionally, restoring coastal mangrove forests is another crucial intervention. Mangroves not only serve as natural carbon sinks, but also act as protective barriers against storm surges and erosion, providing vital ecosystem services that bolster coastal resilience and support biodiversity. Professor Tiffany Morrison, the lead author of the study from the University of Melbourne, emphasizes that while these strategies offer promising pathways for climate adaptation and mitigation, they are not panaceas. The rapid pace of innovation in ocean climate interventions is outpacing the establishment of governance frameworks needed to effectively regulate, monitor, and evaluate them, Morrison points out. Without strong governance, there is a significant risk of causing unintended ecological harm or exacerbating social inequalities. Historical examples of environmental interventions have shown the dangers of implementing solutions without a comprehensive understanding of their long-term impacts. The influx of private and philanthropic funding into ocean climate initiatives highlights the pressing need for effective governance. In recent years, substantial financial commitments have emerged, such as the $160 million pledged by philanthropists in 2020 for marine climate projects, and an additional $250 million announced at COP28 in 2023 to create the Ocean Resilience and Climate Alliance. While these funds are crucial for accelerating the development and implementation of interventions, they also underscore the urgent need for responsible governance frameworks that align innovation with ethical and ecological standards. The study advocates for a governance model termed responsible marine transformation, which incorporates sustainability, equity, and adaptability as core principles. This approach necessitates a careful balancing act between the potential benefits of interventions and the associated risks and ethical considerations. It also stresses the importance of thorough, comparative assessments grounded in rigorous scientific research to evaluate not only the immediate effects, but also the long-term ecological sustainability and scalability of these interventions. A key aspect of responsible governance is the active involvement of Indigenous peoples and local communities. Co-author Professor Neil Adger from the University of Exeter highlights that interventions should be co-designed in partnership with those whose livelihoods and cultural practices are closely linked to marine environments. This collaborative approach ensures that interventions honour traditional knowledge systems and respect the rights and values of those most impacted by changes in ocean conditions. In addition to community engagement, the researchers emphasise the urgent need for bioethical protocols that extend beyond mere animal welfare considerations. These protocols should systematically assess the broader ecological and societal implications of deploying marine interventions on a large scale. As these technologies move from experimental phases to widespread application, addressing bioethical concerns becomes essential to prevent conflicts and foster social acceptance. This research is the result of a collaborative effort among several esteemed institutions, including James Cook University, the University of Michigan, the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, the University of Tasmania, and the Institute of Marine and Atmospheric Studies. Funded by the Australian Research Council and the US Society for Nature and People Partnership, the study exemplifies the global cooperation necessary to tackle the challenges posed by climate change in our oceans. The publication also marks a significant achievement for Professor Morrison, who has recently been awarded an Australian Laureate Fellowship by the ARC. This prestigious recognition acknowledges her contributions to advancing scientific knowledge and developing innovative solutions to secure the future of marine ecosystems in the face of rapid climate change. Her leadership highlights the critical intersection of cutting-edge research, policy development, and community engagement that is essential for effective ocean stewardship. In summary, this important study sheds light on the complex nature of rapid innovation in ocean climate interventions. While the array of emerging technologies presents unprecedented opportunities to bolster marine resilience and combat climate change, these advancements must be accompanied by governance systems that are transparent, inclusive, and adaptable. Only by adopting such an approach can we effectively navigate the intricate socio-ecological landscapes of our oceans and leverage interventions to ensure sustainable marine ecosystems for future generations.